Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check it off because we make getting vaccinated easy. You've got this because we've got you. To learn more, visit yougotthis.usaging.org.
From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Doc Hamels, and thanks for joining us here on Chautauqua Sunrise. So glad you could be here with us. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hello. Tuesdays at 1 o'clock on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people. Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. Justin, you ever catch that over in Jamestown? It's the freakiest thing to be driving down the road and hear yourself on the radio because you've already recorded it and you go, whoa, I sound pretty good. Anyways, thanks WRFA for having us. As always, we've had a wonderful long-term relationship with those folks. Hope you're all doing well. It's kind of a muggy, rainy day out there. And when we got here, it was kind of coolish rain, and then when my guest arrived, I opened up the door, and it was like being in a sauna or something. It was or a steam bath. I was like, holy cow! It got really muggy out there. So it's going to be a damp weekend. I'm sorry to report that, as far as I know, but there's lots of things going on here in Chautauqua County. Get your umbrella, your raincoat, whatever. All kinds of fun things to do. And for those of you that are joining us for the summer, Chautauqua Institutions, summer residents, welcome back. Hope you're enjoying all the great things here in Chautauqua County. We pride ourselves in all the good things. And I always like to point out, especially of late, that if I don't mention all the things, which is impossible to do in this county because there's so many things going on, please get the Chautauqua Gazette, get the Post-Journal, get the Observer. They all have the what's going on in the county. And it's unbelievable. Just all kinds of things to do, and camping, boating, kayaking, fishing, museums, art galleries, and just all kinds of concerts going on. Dunkirk's on fire. They seem to have about 3 or 4 concerts a week there on the pier, so check them out. So I want to share a few things with you right now. Let's see. Farmers Market, I happen to mention. There's one going on right now in Westfield and one in Jamestown, and I've been just so fortunate to be able to have a good working relationship with both of those farmers markets over the years. As a musician, I've played at both of them, and this is just a little self-promo. I'll be appearing next Saturday from 11 to 1 at the Westfield Farmers Market. I'll be the guy sitting in the really nice gazebo. And if you happen to be by, say hi. And I'd like to chat with you, of course. And it's always fun. It's like being in a fishbowl. I'm in the fishbowl and people are passing by. And people say, I know you. yeah, here I am. So anyways, I'll be doing some favorites of mine and maybe hopefully some favorites of yours as well. Let's see, what else is going on? A special shout out to our friends, the 10,000 Maniacs. They have been getting what I would call a justifiable honor through WRFA, where they've been going back in the history of the band and interviews and so forth. And gosh, all these years working together and staying together, that's a hard thing to do as a band, I can tell you that. And I always know about how many years they've been together because it's been just almost exactly the amount of years that my wife and I have been married. And let's just say it's a lot. Well, all right, it's over 40 years. And that's a testimony to the music that they produce and so forth. And so here's why I even mention it even more so, is because this Monday coming up at Chautauqua Institution, they are going to be doing a concert. And there is nothing like doing a hometown concert, and I know it's going to be a lot of fun. I saw the guys a couple years ago with the Real Reg, and it was outstanding. So Dennis and Steve have both been guests on my show here over the years, and I only wish you the best of luck on your tour this year, and have a great time at Chautauqua, and I hope you all can catch them. And if not, listen to WRFA. They've got this great program on about the 10,000 Maniacs, homegrown Jamestown band, Chautauqua County band. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. All right, coming up, this is one of those mark your calendar things. I promised Don McCord I would do a couple things from Westfield. September 7 and 8, all right, is going to be the Westfield Grape and Wine Festival. It's going to be running from 10 to 8 on Saturday the 7th and Sunday from 11 to 5. That'd be September 8th. And it's going to be right there in the Moore Park and the Grape Discovery Center. Well, we've had the Grape Discovery Center here on over the years, and if you haven't been there, I took my grandsons there a couple of weeks ago. They had a ball. There's all kinds of cool things for kids to do. There's all kinds of neat things for adults to do. There's exhibits. There's things you can try out, learn about, and it's a walk back in history through the eyes of the agricultural industry, and especially grapes. And then they're going to have things going on at Moore Park. And let me put my glasses on because it's really small. Things like a bounce house, face painting. There's going to be the Probables. So friends of mine, they're going to be playing there. Let's see, there's the farmer's market. There's going to be a chicken barbecue, grape pie. If you've never had grape pie, it's outstanding. That's all I can tell you is it just, with that corn grape across your palate, unbelievable. Now, this is something new, Justin. Maybe you can get your dad into this grape pie eating contest. What do you think? Okay. There's going to be an art show. Oh, Randy says no. All right. Lakeshore Center for the Arts are going to have art show. There's going to be all kinds of things. So we're going to talk more about that on the 31st. I got a couple of folks coming in that are going to tell us about other happenings. But again, September 7th and 8th, Grape and Wine Festival in Westfield. All right, what else we got here? Got that, took care of that. All right, always I'd like to do a shout out to our friends in the Ukraine. I know they're watching, and I hope you're doing well and being safe and that there's some resolution. Okay, and I guess we're going to get right to our announcements. Jeff, here we go. All right, the first one is coming up tomorrow. And one of our underwriters, Meter's Restaurant, is the sponsor of this. And it's going to be a free outdoor concert. Okay? Excuse me. Not tomorrow. It's today. I don't know why I was thinking it was tomorrow. It's today, August 17th. It starts at 6 p.m. And it's going to be outside, out on the school lawn, I believe. So let me double check. And it starts 6, I said that. Bring your own chairs. And they're going to be featuring the band 814 or 814. They're playing modern gospel. they were able to come in because they had a cancellation and they're going to be in the area. So check it out today, 6 o'clock, out on the school lawn, and bring a chair. So hopefully the rain will let up for a little while at around 6 to maybe hopefully 8. We'll see. That's the thing that always plagues bands in outdoor activities is the weather, huh? Okay, now let's see if I got this straight. This is also today. So here we go. This is the Beach Bash for Wright Park. The City of Dunkirk Festivals and Special Events Department will host their annual Beach Bash. All right, today, August 17th, throughout Wright Park, starting this morning through dusk. The event, sponsored by National Grid, DFD Communications, and Beach House Bar and Grill, is open to the public. The City of Dunkirk Recreation Department has a full slate of activities happening during this year. Beach Bash, including pickleball, slow pitch softball, and volleyball tournaments. The third annual Beach Bash, I have to say it slowly, Beach Bash Pickleball Tournament registration starts right now, and they're starting to play as we speak. Registration's only $10. Give them a call at 545-3001 for more information. Then there's going to be a slow pitch and volleyball and all these kinds of things. There's going to be the music of Styx, and the Untouchables are playing, some of my friends over there. And so it's just all kinds of things going on today. So check it out over at Wright Park in Dunkirk for their Beach Bash. And hopefully the weather cooperates and they can get a lot of those activities in for you. All right, let's go on to slide 17. This one's a little more complex. I'm going to try my best to explain it. It's going to be a 45-minute moderated webinar featuring a presentation from Candace DeMattias, Policy Director for the Partnership to Fight Chronic Disease. Candace will explain the pill penalty piece of the Inflation Reduction Act, which threatens the development of future breakthrough drugs that treat mental illness, cancer, and many other diseases, and discuss its negative impact on access to mental health treatments for patients in rural America. As you know, we've had Jeff Witten on here over the course of the last year. We've been talking about the issues that rural America faces with mental health. So the webinar will be held on Wednesday, August 21 at 1 p.m. And how do you do it? Let's see, it's going to be via Zoom, and the registration is free. So if interested, contact Rural Minds. So it would be Chuck at ruralminds.org, okay? Or you can contact Patrick at ruralminds.org to register. So I've made a commitment to always work with folks on mental health issues, and that's just one of the great organizations that's working with the National Grange to talk about things that are going on in rural America. So Rural Minds webinar, August 21 at 1 p.m. All right. Excuse me, that's not true. That's at 10 a.m. They got different times here, so it must be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, anyways, check it out. All right. We got the Westfield Memorial Hospital Foundation. Okay, we've got a slide on that, I believe. And it's the 10 Days of Giving for Westfield Memorial Hospital raffle. It's underway as we speak. So what do they got going? They got an e-bike valued at $1,500 that was generously donated by Dave Warren of Power Sports. A 55-inch Samsung TV valued at $600 that was donated by West Her Auto Group. A $500 gift card to the Chautauqua Institution donated by the Chautauqua Institution. Okay, so this is going to be going on from Monday, November 18th through Wednesday, November 27th. So this is coming up. All right, so, they're selling the raffle tickets now. Okay, so cash, check, or credit card accepted. So this is coming up soon. So, this is how it goes. So every day, it's the 10 Days of Giving, starting on November 18th. They're going to give away an Apple iPad. The next day, hilarious getaway at Chautauqua Harbor Hotel. The next day, 2 pairs of designer sunglasses, then the electric bike, the next day the TV, the next day a Frigidaire upright freezer. Who can't use one of those? The next day a gift card surprise package, then another one, Salvatore's grand package, a $500 DeWalt power tool in stock. The 27th, the Best of Chautauqua Institution, that's the $500 gift certificate. So this all is 10 days of giving in November. So get your tickets now, and they are $20 or 3 for $50. So check that out. Now, moving along, let's go to the Reg Lene over in Jamestown. We got a movie coming up. All right, we'll pop that up. Let's see here. June Squibb, who did many of her own stunts in the film Thelma and Inside Out 2, plays the title character of Thelma. This is going to be shown August 21 at 7 p.m. In the film, a feisty 93-year-old grandmother gets conned by a phone scammer pretending to be her grandson. Imagine that. I've only had those calls about 3 times. And sets out on a treacherous quest across Los Angeles, accompanied by an aging friend and his motorized scooter to reclaim what was taken from her. Thelma is rated PG-13. It's 97 minutes long. Then Disney and Pixar's Inside Out. So there's Thelma first, and then on the 23rd we're going to do Inside Out 2, which I guess has been really getting a lot of kudos. It's going to be held the 23rd at 7, and on the 28th at 2. Returns to the mind of newly minted teenager Riley, just as headquarters is undergoing a sudden demolition to make room for something entirely unexpected. New emotions, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, who've long been running a successful operation by all accounts, aren't sure how to feel when anxiety shows up, and it looks like she's not alone. I have no idea what this all means, but it's a great movie. So it's called Inside Out 2. So check it out. Upcoming movies include the summer action thriller Twisters, what else? The Fabulous Four, Despicable Me 4, one of my favorites. I love the Minions. And of course, on October 25, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I still got to see that. I can't believe I haven't seen that. All right. So generally the tickets are $8 in person. You can go to the box office by calling 484-7070. And the family showings are $7. And they always add $1 for, wait a minute, I guess they don't do that anymore. They used to add $1 for everything. Anyways, 484-7070. And check it out. And finally, I made a promise to Don McCord with the Westfield Development Corporation that I would pop this up, and I hope that it comes through for you. This is a QR code, and it says if you scan this code, you can take a questionnaire regarding the future of the town and village of Westfield, and it's to help shape Westfield's future. So we're going to leave it up for a few seconds. Take your iPhone and take a picture of that, and it'll take you hopefully to a website. I don't know if it'll work, Don, but we'll give it a shot. So, and then you complete the comprehensive plan questionnaire. Okay, he said it worked for Chris. So if it worked for Chris, it should work for you at home. So click on that if you're from Westfield, and follow the link and take the questionnaire so they know how you feel about things in their community. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. And my guest is ready to get on show with me. So this one's for you, and we'll be back in a second or two.
At Intersections, it's not just about my moves. It's about yours, too. See Coop Guy?
Hey.
He has a green light, but before he can turn, he's got to wait for oncoming traffic to clear. And at the same time, make sure no one's in the crosswalk. And Dog Walking Lady, when she's crossing, she should always check for turning traffic, even if she has the walk signal. There's a lot going on at Intersections, but when it all comes together, it's intersection perfection. See and be seen.
Okay, let me frame the discussion today. Over the years, I've had a good working relationship with an organization out of Jamestown, Dunkirk area. The whole county actually is called Prevention Works. And Melanie Wachowski has been on my show. She's the executive director. And I've worked with other folks before it was called Prevention Works. And basically, in my life, in my background, we have focused on good, healthy habits with our family and our kids. It's a lot of families know that there's situations in everyone's family where you're dealing with alcoholism, depression, drugs, whatever. It's part of our fabric, unfortunately. And you might say, well, it's a new thing. No, it's not. It's been going on for hundreds of years. You know, it's just now with mass media and virtual socialization and social media, it's becoming more and more apparent and clear. So I want to welcome Tony Frangione. Are you Italian or Sicilian? I don't know.
Very Italian.
Very Italian. Frangione, and who is the Intervention Services Manager for Prevention Works. Did I get that right?
Yeah, everything's right.
All right. So Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I know that your colleague got sick and couldn't make it.
Yes.
So hopefully she's well and maybe come on another time.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Tony, you heard me tell a little bit about the introduction about things, but first and foremost, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about yourself, since this is your first time here and we don't know you.
Yeah, of course. So, like Doc said, my name is Tony. I'm the Intervention Services Manager at Prevention Works, and basically that means that all of our one-on-one services that are dealing with youth or adolescents, sometimes adults too, depending on the situation. We have a few programs that we'll get into that we can kind of service for these kids, and I head that department.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So personally, I've been in the prevention kind of line of work for about 3 years now. But personally, I've also been able to benefit from the same programs actually that I'm teaching in schools now. So when I was younger, maybe 14, 15, I was introduced to the person who was our associate director now. And so I was able to actually, at that time, she was an educator, so I was able to kind of get some of those programs and services that I'm teaching now. So hopefully that can tell you how I feel about them. But just whether it's coping skills or just things that are happening at home or maybe in school if it's bullying, whatever the case may be, there's a lot of things that we cover. But I definitely took advantage of those services, and I think it honestly helped me be who I am today. So
awesome.
Yeah.
It's always nice to hear, first of all, success stories, and secondly, that real people participate in these services and come out at the other end and say, hey, it worked.
Absolutely.
Prevention works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so where do I start here? So I see you mentioned one-on-one services. So I remember during the COVID years, I guess in multiple years, we did a lot of advertising and a lot of promotion of your services that were Zoom and online.
Correct.
Were you part of that era?
So I think I came in just at the tail end of that era there. So I did definitely still use some of those virtual services. That was more for our education. I know that we were using it for the one-on-one intervention services as well, but that was really for our group education because all the kids were at home, so we couldn't see them in schools.
Right. I like to think about the title that you use, Prevention Works.
Yeah.
So to me, it has two different meanings. Prevention works, in other words, use prevention, or prevention works, which means works meaning things that you can do, like activities. So it's kind of a cool title, Prevention Works. So what's the mission of Prevention Works?
So really, we are just trying to, serve everyone that we can, involving inclusivity, and really just trying to make the most positive, happy, and healthy environment that we can. And really, we're trying to do that through education, collaboration, and motivation.
Oh, just a small goal.
Yeah, just a small goal, yeah. It's very broad there, but, really the services that we're doing, working one-on-one and kind of in the field, if you will, with some of the students, with the community that we have here, it's really important to all of us. And so I think you'll find that every single one of us at the agency has just a ton of passion for what we do.
Good. So you said you're in schools. Which schools are you in?
We are in 18 schools, maybe.
You got them all then.
Districts. Yeah, we're trying to get into all of them. I know that in the North County we're in quite a few. The South County we're in quite a few as well. But yeah, we're in all JPS schools. We're in most of Dunkirk schools. We're in Silver Creek. We're in Frewsburg, Faulkner, and many, many schools in between.
Sure. There's quite a few. Okay. I often wonder. You're not for profit.
Yes, correct.
So what funds you? What do you have a feel for what keeps you guys running?
Yeah, so that's, again, more of what the ED, so Mel Wachowski, and the AD, Lori Reynolds, do. But I will say that we do have a few primary funders. One of them actually being in town is the United Way of South and North County.
Okay.
We also have been able to work with Oasis, so they fund a lot of non-for-profits in our area, and so we've been able to work with them. I know that we may be in with the county, possibly for some of the opiate settlement funds. So I know that there are a few areas where we get our revenue, but that's the main ones.
Okay, and I'm not pressing you for
Yeah,
big time, but I just like people to understand that when they donate to like the United Way, that funnels down and supports folks like
absolutely.
you guys, because the world of not-for-profit is extremely difficult, and the fact that you guys as an agency have a long-term existence that probably, I'm guessing, probably well over 40 years or more. You know, I don't know. I just know that you've been around for a long time, because when I was in education, I know that Pat Munson was the director, I believe, before it was called Prevention Works, and she'd been very involved with the schools as well. Okay, so you said when you were growing up, you know, as a young teen, you were involved with some of the programs. So, you know, everybody says, well, you know, when I was growing up, it was tough, and you know, now they say, you know, things are tough. Things are tough.
Yeah, just in general, things are just tough.
I don't know if they're tougher than when I was growing up or not. I just think we just didn't talk a lot about those things. I mean, you mentioned bullying. When I was like 8th grade, I was like 6 foot, and you know, there was these little punks that tried to bully us.
Yeah.
You know, and we were always taught, you know, turn the other cheek, don't get in, you know, don't harass them. You know, finally one day we had to take care of business. But I mean, it's been going on forever. Yeah. So what kind of things do you do for young teens?
Yeah, so first I will say, just kind of addressing an earlier point, there's a huge stigma around this line of work sometimes. It's probably the reason why it hasn't been talked about a ton in the past, and hopefully why it continues to be talked about more in the future. And so really there is a large stigma around the programs, and so that's what we try to do as an agency, is to break down those walls and to try to figure out how to be able to reach these kids.
Wait a minute, what stigma? I'm not sure if I follow you there.
So it's mainly a kind of a peer pressure stigma almost, where if you're going to see someone for the services that we offer, immediately in the back of someone's mind, it's like, oh, it might be with addiction or with a substance misuse or use
It's
problem.
like being in school and you have to go with a reading teacher or the speech therapist or somebody who provides counseling. You know, it's like, oh, he's got to go with you know who. Yeah.
Exactly, and so that's not all we do too. We have, you know, we're more foundationally secure in social emotional well-being, and making sure that people are taking care of themselves in other ways. You know, so health and wellness is really something that we try to involve all the kids in, involve all of our staff in. But that's our main goal, is to keep people happy, healthy, and safe.
Wow, that's a tall order, and I'm going to repeat that over and over again. So help me understand the structure of Prevention Works. Is it countywide? How many offices do you have? How many people are involved?
Yeah, of course.
Give us a feel.
So I believe we're...
Again, I'm not going to hold you to it.
So
just
rough numbers, I think we're at 28 or 29, maybe a little less, maybe a little more
You're
people.
that big?
We've grown quite a bit in the last few years, yeah. There's just an existential need that's kind of been coming through for many of the school districts that we serve. They're wanting to increase hours with the intervention services people that come in. They're wanting to increase hours and programs with the education staff that we have. So it's tremendous. It's a little bit scary, but it's hopeful, you know. We do have 2 offices as well, so we are countywide. We have one office that's really our primary office in Jamestown, and then we have another one in Dunkirk as well.
Okay, where is it in Jamestown? I don't even know.
Jamestown, so we're actually in the middle of a move right now in Jamestown. We are currently on North Main. We're going to be moving into the Faulkner area.
Oh, okay. And Dunkirk?
Dunkirk is in the Resource Center.
Oh, on Route 5.
Yes, it's either the one on Route 5 or I believe there might be 2. It's the one just down on Lakeshore.
Route 5.
Yeah. Again, I'm from Jamestown and Panama actually, so the Dunkirk
okay.
is. Yep.
I have to laugh because I'm directionally challenged, and when I can score a correct answer, it's a big deal. Yeah, it's along the lake, and that's Route 5. Okay, super. So, oh boy. So let's start from the beginning here. So you're working obviously with kids, you're saying. So your services don't work with adults too much? Like if someone has an addiction problem or alcoholism in addiction to that, do you work with those folks?
So it's kind of touch and go, I will say. If somebody is already, involved with a substance use or misuse problem, it's not that we can't get involved, right? So we want them to have as many resources as they can. But usually that would be like working with them to say, okay, where do you want to see some growth? Where do you want to see some change? Who can we get you in contact with to figure this out? That's one of the things that we try to do in collaboration, is really working with as many agencies and people in the community as we can to get people the services.
So
they
you
need.
can almost be like a one-stop where here's the issue and I can refer you, we're here.
Essentially,
or
yeah.
you over there. Or if you live in North County, go here, that type of thing.
And of course, we can have our own services involved there too, just to kind of help with any extra coping skills or things that they need to learn.
Okay, I'm overwhelmed by the fact that you got that many employees, which tells me the need continues to grow in our area.
Oh, yes.
Top three issues that you think right now are going on for youth, and they don't have to be right or wrong, but what comes to mind? What are the top three things that kids are being challenged with right now?
Yeah, so I will say that we do have a few other services too. So we are working with parents, we are working with senior citizens as well. But our main kind of category of people, our main, I'm blanking on the word right now.
Yeah, your clients, your
exactly.
population you're working with, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be the youth in the schools. So the biggest problems that we're seeing there are going to be behavioral issues, possibly, that are still kind of branching from COVID. I know that it's difficult to pinpoint that, but a lot of the social, emotional development and skills just weren't there, and so trying to kind of foster those, that's one of the bigger issues. Another issue is it could be trauma, it could be coping skills that aren't taught. Or it could be just like relying on things like nicotine is huge right now in schools and outside of schools. Vapes are really, really hard it's a big challenge for us to deal with. So that's another one. The third one I would say is just the rising level of like opioids in our area. It keeps getting worse and worse. There are people who believe that they're buying other things, so whether it's marijuana or whatever it is, and it's laced with fentanyl. And so that's something that we're dealing with as a community, as as a group as a whole, and so it's very difficult to see that.
Okay, so I'm going to drill down a little bit with you, if I may, on a couple of these things. So when you say social behavior, it was connected to COVID. So it seems to me, if I heard you right, during the COVID period, we were isolated. Kids were in their formative years, and they were stuck. They were isolated at home. They couldn't be with their friends. So what does that all mean? I mean, what does it look like?
So again, it's really hard to like pinpoint the exact issue.
Yeah, give an example.
Just kind of what we're seeing is, when we went back into the schools, and this has been something that's kind of been worked on gradually, especially with, the wonderful schools that we work with too. So I feel like it's a community effort.
Oh yeah.
But the students definitely are, they were locked up in the house all the time. And so what's the first thing you want to do when you see all your friends? You want to talk, you want to hang out, communicate. And sometimes it's difficult to know the boundaries of when to do that and when not to do that.
Gotcha.
So in class, it could look like, speaking up, speaking out. And that's something that we kind of encourage, is speaking up, but when it's in the wrong context, or if it's you're not listening properly, you're not getting what you're supposed to out of school, then it becomes an issue.
So if I can drill down a little bit into that, so I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about, because I was a teacher at one time, and I'm thinking about personal space, or I'm thinking about, like you said, what's appropriate way to sit in class and answer questions when the teacher says, and then you blurt out the answer, or don't follow the instructions, or you forget what are the typical protocols that you would expect in school, and the kids are overzealous or whatever. So I guess when you mentioned it, I really hadn't realized that was kind of a hangover from the COVID period. And I think even to this day, I think you walk through stores, people are a little bit hesitant to go near each other. They're a little bit hesitant to get close.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention this earlier, and I didn't, is that COVID is back, or never left.
Yeah.
I guess it never left. And I've heard a number of instances right now where people are contracting COVID once again, And in the early part of the show, there's the last little piece there was to contact that number for folks if you want to get a COVID shot, or just remember to get your booster shots, because it's here to stay, I think. And I was surprised by how many people I've talked to, as I said, that either know someone that has COVID right now or just got over it. And you kind of forget about how the situation was and that isolation period that we were all in. So, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. Is we got to kind of retool the kids to know how to behave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that was the number, I believe, Jeff. Cool. It's the New York Connects hotline that will give information about where there's clinics right now for COVID, or where you can get your shots, or just if you have a question, give them a call at 753-4582. Thanks, Jeff. The next one you mentioned was trauma. Now, to me, that can be one of a zillion different things.
Yeah, because it is. You're absolutely right.
Can you give us a couple examples of what kind of trauma you deal with?
Yeah. So it's kind of hand in hand with those social emotional skills too in the classroom, which is really why I believe so much in our services and what we do for the kids. But the trauma that they could be experiencing, it could be very severe. It could be something at home with parents, with family, with brothers and sisters, and I don't like to get into too much detail about that, just because everyone's situation is extremely different. And so really the main reason why I bring up the fact that the kids might be experiencing things is because it could be a good tell as to why someone might be acting out in class or might be bullying someone, right? They could be going through the same thing at home. And so it's really important that we kind of offer a hopeful solution, but really just some work on progress in those areas.
Okay, so let me digress a bit. Trauma to me is something that is a significant experience that any one of us goes through that is not your everyday experience. It's something that's heightened. It could be a death, an accident. It could be somewhere, like you said, you've been bullied, you've been robbed, a car accident. You've experienced something that's just out of the ordinary, that resonates with you for a long time, and it affects you. And so what do you do for folks like that?
So if you don't mind, I'll probably dive into all of our programs now.
That's why we're here. Absolutely.
As far as the intervention specialists and services, we tend to meet with those kids one-on-one. We have two different kinds of programs that we do. So the one that we're talking about now, dealing with a little more of that trauma and maybe some social skills, would be what's called an information and referral. So that's when the school will get a hold of us. They'll let us know, hey, the kid knows. We just wanted to get them in touch with someone who can help them with a few social skills. It could be communication. It could be building relationships. It could be dealing with grief, which is something that we're going to be kind of implementing soon. Whatever the social skill is, we have a lot of curriculum to kind of fall back on and to use in those areas. And so that's something that we try to help with there. The other side of our intervention services is the one that unfortunately we're using quite a bit, is what's called Teen Intervene. And so that's like an early onset substance misuse or use disorder. So that's if just the students are starting to use, if they get caught one time, if they've gotten caught 3 times. But that's really if they are being caught at a school or a school function with any kind of substance. So I know that the 2 main culprits of that are going to be vapes, so nicotine, but also THC vapes and cartridges as well.
You cover a lot of territory.
And that's just our
I'm writing down notes. I'm going to have to go to another piece of paper here in a second.
So that's our intervention services. And then we also, in the schools as well, we have a few program services. So we'll do group education in the classroom for Too Good for Drugs is what it's called. And so that's dealing with, the first half of it is social emotional skills like communication, boundaries, stuff like that. And then we'll roll into dealing with, topics of marijuana, nicotine, tobacco, alcohol, prescription medication, over-the-counter medication, just really trying to keep everyone safe and, talking about those risk factors that they might have.
With school going to reopen, yes, I said that. Parents are going, yes. Probably about 3 weeks, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
These things have been going on all summer. Kids are experimenting or whatever. They come to school and they introduce their friends to whatever. And I'm saying whatever because it could be whatever.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
So they're at a school dance and they're using some marijuana in the background, and it's for young kids. It's not okay and illegal. And So who refers them to you?
Yeah, so that whole referral process is really, it can be anyone referring them. So it can be a parent, it could be a loved one, an aunt, uncle, any kind of parent or guardian that they're living with. It can be a guidance counselor, administrator at the schools. It could be a teacher. It could be another student. It could be the student themselves.
All right.
So really anyone can refer, and so that's kind of what we're trying to push for the most is anyone can refer. They can try to help them out, you know.
So does the parent have to sign off?
It depends. So we do follow standard like HIPAA confidentiality laws. So if the student is 12 or older, they're able to get the services on their own.
Oh,
yeah.
Really? 12?
If they are 12 or under, we do need parental discretion and signatures. However, usually that's a conversation that we have with the schools. And if they're doing these things, usually the schools will inform the parents. So it's not that we're trying to go behind anyone's back and do this.
Yeah. And that's key here. So it sounds to me then you're in lockstep with the school districts as far as here's the situation, we're going to come in and work with the kids and report back to the social workers, the guidance counselors, the teachers, the parents. I mean, do you have meetings with all these folks, or how's that work?
So we'll do what's called a technical guidance with them, and so we'll kind of sit down, we'll get a solid like rough plan in place of when we're going to be there. I know that a lot of our intervention specialists now, they'll have a certain amount of hours that they're going to be in schools. So whether it's 5 hours or 3 hours or 20 hours for the whole week, whatever it is, they usually have a schedule outlined. But as far as the topics that are covered in the sessions, really we don't give that information out because that is confidential. So while we can say, we talked about communication and building relationships and bullying, we can't go into too many details about what happens in those conversations just because it is confidential.
I'm sitting here just thinking about all that.
Of course.
Wow. THC, marijuana. The laws of New York State have changed like many places. And basically, if you're old enough, you can use marijuana legally. Is that true? That's true.
So recreationally, technically right now it's decriminalized, but yes, essentially that's what it means.
Essentially. But not for young kids.
No, and that's something that we are constantly reminding them of, is that while it may be legal, it's in a similar facet of like alcohol or even nicotine and tobacco. In Chautauqua County, I know it's 21. So the age of consent and ability to use these substances is still 21, and we're still having to tell the students that. A lot of times we'll get pushback and they'll be like, well, this is either I know somebody who does this or this is what I'm doing and it's because it's legal. And then we have to say, is it really legal though for you? Because you have to be 21, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
When I was an administrator at schools, one of the things that I had to deal with was that what the student was very open about their drug use, and most of the time was marijuana, you know. But those that were, let's just say, in their family circle used.
Yeah.
And whether it's brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, parents, whatever. And so I always kind of had this issue was like, if the stuff's sitting out here on the table and you're using over here while you're watching TV, and how do you deal with that? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's available, it's there, and it's the adults in the room are consenting to the use. And how do we help kids, up to the age of 21 now to understand that it's a developmental issue, which we'll talk about in a second, because I know about the amygdala. Did I say that right?
I think so, yeah. So I guess the question was just how do we approach this topic? So really the way that we approach the topic is, we're not trying to be anyone's mom or dad and tell them exactly what's right or wrong. We're just trying to show them what's going to be the best for their health, their growth, and their development, especially their brain.
Yeah.
When we tell them, sometimes it takes anywhere from when you're 23 to 25, sometimes even longer for your brain to fully develop.
That's where I wanted to go.
That's something that's difficult for some students or some people, some adults in general, to process that information. And it's your frontal cortex, your brain is constantly developing until you get to that age. And so it can be astronomically bad for you if you are putting something into your brain or into your body that's going to inhibit that or stop it.
Okay, so where I was going with, I think it's called the amygdala. I used to, before I would come on the show, I would practice that because I've used that term before, but it's part of the brain in the frontal part of the brain, I believe. Someone's going to call in and say, you knuckleheads, the other part. But it's part of the brain. And people don't realize that, and you've already explained it to a degree, but I want to further explain it to folks, is that, whether you believe marijuana is good or bad, that's not where I'm going with this. It's not good for a brain, somebody's brain, if it's still in the developmental stages.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so from the time you're born till in your 20s anyways, that piece of the brain is still developing. Yes. And that's science, that's medicine, that's not like a scare tactic. And so by using large amounts of alcohol, THC, whatever, you're affecting that part of your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you are stunted there. I think it stops growing or it does something.
So it depends on how long the use is, what the substance
Sure,
is.
of course.
There's still definitely, there's ways that they can retrain those areas of their brain. But just very quickly, the way THC works is it gets in between the receptors in your brain. And so it can definitely cause some problems with the brain development.
Yeah.
So that's something that we try to tell the kids in the sessions, in the classes, is just when somebody asks, what is this really doing? It can definitely affect the way that your brain and your body works. And so if that's happening, it's probably not for the best,
Okay, so developmentally, it's not a good thing. And again, we're not promoting the use of anything here on the show, but we're doing what you're doing. We're providing information.
Absolutely.
So after a certain age, the brain is done developing, and that's why things like drinking alcohol and using THC type products don't affect the development of your brain.
Yeah, don't affect the development, but it definitely still can affect the proper
absolutely, and that's
working.
the next issue is this how we handle the use of it. I was surprised to hear about nicotine and vaping.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I've noticed, at least amongst people my age, hardly anybody smoking anymore. But it must be in the younger years. So I'm guessing that the media is targeting younger folks because then they become long-term smokers.
Yeah. And so just, again, getting back into some of the programs that we do, there's a new one, and it's from Oasis. It's like the certified #1 program that they can, evidence-based program is what it's called. And it's called Positive Action. So that's something that we're going to be using as well. And it's really just about making positive choices. So like every decision can be made positively. How do we do that? And so these programs are kind of designed to get into the kids' heads and say, is this going to be the most positive thing for you? If it's not, then you might want to suggest or try a different avenue. So with nicotine, that's how we're trying to combat that. But yes, it's an astronomical problem in the schools. I think one of our people, Lucy Price, was doing a collection kind of campaign for data. And she had collected over 200 vapes across the county from schools that we were able to collect.
Wow.
Yeah.
True or false? Ready? Little quiz. And
Let's see.
You're going to score fine. The question that I ask often when I'm working with folks in prevention is, the question is true or false, nicotine is the most addictive drug in the world?
So I believe the answer probably would have been true a little while ago. However, fentanyl is around right now, and it has been damaging for sure.
Okay. So I go back to my question is because that was, yes, that it's extremely addicting, and people don't even realize it. They don't even think about smoking as a big deal because it's been around forever. But on the other hand, when you look at these commercials, what people say, I was targeted for menthol cigarettes, or make sure you text your kids because it may be the last time you text them, and people missing their vocal cords or limbs and things like that. I mean, they're not trying to scare people. They're trying to educate them that this will lead to other issues over time. So now we go to the elephant in the room, is the opioids. I, like everybody else, read the paper and we look at the obituaries, and I am so saddened that I probably once or twice a week will see somebody, and I always qualify it somewhere in the mid-20s to early 30s is in the obituary, and very often the family will put had a long-term battle with drug addiction. Yeah. And I'm guessing it has something to do with opioids.
It could. Yeah, so as far as treatment and addiction, that's something that we do try to refer to other agencies, because obviously our expertise is in prevention. But just some of the trainings and seminars that we've went to as an agency, it's just, sorry, I don't mean to chuckle, but it's just a horrible problem, especially around here in Jamestown and Dunkirk, where even if the person wasn't, even if they weren't a substance use or misuse person, where they're addicted to a certain substance, if they just were trying to, and again, not condoning this, but they were trying to take Adderall to study or whatever it might be, it could have fentanyl in it, and it takes 1 to 2 salt-sized grains to cause someone to overdose. So, around this area and really everywhere in the country too, fentanyl has kind of been, it's been horrible for everyone, and so you'll see more Narcan and things like that around. But yeah, it's just brutal.
Okay, so since you brought up fentanyl, my understanding it's clear and tasteless. And how do you even know it's in whatever you're using? Is there any way? How do you know?
Yeah, there is actually. So there are a few fentanyl test strips. The places around that do provide them. I'm blanking on the exact places, but I know that I believe, have THC and possibly fentanyl test strips as well, just in our agency, that we're able to provide to other people too.
All right, tell me how the test strip works.
I believe it's just like any other form of a test, where you are putting a little bit of whatever product it is onto the test strip, and then it will just show you whether it's positive or negative. It'll walk you through the steps.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, folks, for those of you that are out there listening right now, this is something to think about, because this takes you back to the old days of Prohibition, where they were making bathtub alcohol and it poisoned people because they were using all kinds of crazy ingredients. Well, to me, it kind of reminds me of this. If you're using a marijuana type product or whatever, it could be laced with something, and you might want to get some test strips. Yeah. Can you buy these at the drugstore, or how do you get them? I
believe they may be for free at the... I'm sorry, I don't want to give misinformation. So I believe they may be at the county, but I'm unsure.
All right, so the Department of Health may be able to help them out.
Yeah.
All right, and if you ever get that information, send it to us, and we'll be happy to share that.
Well, and hey, if anyone's wondering too, they can feel free to reach out to us and call us, and we'll definitely
so what's the phone number, Tony?
The phone number is, I'll give you the Jamestown number, 716 664 3608.
3608.
Yep.
All right, we'll come back to that number again, 664-3608. All right, so why would anybody put fentanyl into somebody's marijuana? I mean, is this a joke or a kick, or to get an extra high? Or
so really, I'm currently unsure. It baffles me, and I think that you'd possibly have to be in that realm, that state of mind to be doing that. So unfortunately, I don't have an exact answer as to why people are doing that. It's really just, it's happening. What can we do to prevent that?
Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't mind.
If somebody uses fentanyl, they use it to get high.
Potentially, but currently you might not even know that you're using fentanyl.
But you get addicted to it?
Yes, so it is an opiate. You can definitely get addicted to it, for sure.
All right, so in small amounts, people don't die. In larger amounts, it'll kill you.
And even some small to medium amounts, people will still pass away, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm just not that familiar with fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I know that the law enforcement folks, the Department of Health, they have Narcan products that are free of charge, I believe, that you can get. Correct. And is it like a nasal spray?
Yes, usually you'll find a nasal spray. So you'll just administer the nasal spray to the person. It may work on one use. Sometimes it might take 2 uses. Just it depends on the amount that they have in their system.
Isn't it sad that we're sitting here talking about something like this?
It is. It really is.
It's like, how in the world did we get to this point where we have to have nasal sprays to save somebody that's in our lives that we love and care for, and that they got addicted to something like fentanyl?
Well, and I think that's kind of why we're trying to do everything that we do. In prevention, there's, and I'm going to butcher this, but there's like an old story where there's people who are on top of a waterfall and they're falling down. And so somebody, it goes down to the bottom of the waterfall, and they're like, come over here, I'll help you. And these people keep falling, and they keep helping them over.
Yeah.
And some of them might go back up and fall again. But, working in prevention and being preventative would be being at the top of that waterfall and trying to pull them off before the problem even happens. And that's really what we're trying to do. And if you don't mind, I might backtrack a little bit just to go over some of our other programs too, because I feel like they're great. So we've kind of touched base on intervention services as a whole. There's also the Too Good for Drugs program that we do. We're going to be implementing kind of a startup almost of positive action in a few school districts. Currently we have 1 or 2 educators who are going to be working on that, but that's the one that I had described as it's the number one evidence-based program in right now that's in. So we're going to see how we have, what kind of feedback we get from the pilot. We're going to be trying to use that. But again, that's really just about, trying to do everything that we can positively, working through those issues instead of building a dependency on something that could be a coping mechanism like marijuana, like nicotine, or maybe even something worse. But then also we do work with, the older demographic as well. So older, I will say that we work with parents. Aubrey Shippard is our family wellness coordinator. She does a phenomenal job. And I think that there can be a big amount of stigma around that as well, is if you need parenting classes, then there's something wrong with your parenting. And so we take a completely different approach on that. And it's really just support. It's supportive classes. It's supportive seminars. And so it's where you can go and talk with other parents, with other people who might be experiencing the things that you're
We've
experiencing.
announced many of those online Zoom sessions over the years, and I get a chuckle out of them. I'm thinking off the top of my head, when your kid falls down in the supermarket and screaming because he wants that toy, or getting the kids to go to bed. I mean, these are everyday real things. These are not like, heavy duty things. These are just behavioral things. And what in the world do you do? Because it's the old standard joke, when babies are born, there isn't an instruction book with it.
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
baby,
And so those 2 topics actually are 2 topics that are covered in this 4-session discussion group that Aubrey does. And so I will say she just does an amazing job of really facilitating that conversation and helping the parents support each other and themselves. So it's not like they're asking for all the answers and she's just giving them the answers. They're finding them on their own. And the feedback that we're getting from those support classes is just tremendous. But if they need a little bit more in-depth approach to things, she also can do a one-on-one with the parents. And that really, it just depends on their situation, what they might be able to kind of get there. And then there's also because of course, when people get to their early teens and their adolescence, it gets a little more difficult. So she's able to meet with the parents and talk about some of those things, whether it's dealing with violence and aggression or, disobedience and behavior, just making sure that everyone that can be, healthy, happy, and supported is.
Wow. We have about a minute and a half left.
Gotcha.
Quick, any success story that comes to mind?
Success story. Yeah, I mean, we are seeing a lot of success stories just
Good.
across the board, which is great. And it's just, fundamentally, I'm so proud of the agency that we have and where I am. I know that all of our staff people are as well. And what we're doing is just, I feel like it's necessary. It's needed to happen. So, I'm hoping that the larger success story could be that as an agency, we're able to do the things that we're, trying to do and we're on kind of path to hopefully do some of those things.
I always used to say a success story would be that you're not needed anymore.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because prevention, we're kind of working ourselves out of a job here.
Right, but I think you're going to be going for a while.
If we can sit back one day in the vast future and see that we've succeeded, then I think that that'll be the best for us.
Tony Frangione, you are the Intervention Services Manager at Prevention Works.
Correct.
And I want to thank you for joining me today. How about a phone number and maybe in some other contact information on a website, anything?
Yeah, of course. So we do have our website. That's where you can find all of our different programs. It's preventionworks.us. And so that's where you can find a little more detailed descriptions of all of our programs, what we do. So I would say anybody who's listening who is even a bit curious of what we can do, please feel free to look at the website, check it out. I know that there's some work being done to it right now, but it's going to be looking great soon. And then also a good contact for me is that same number, 716-664-3608. If you're looking for my extension, it's 102. Feel free to call. I will definitely take all the calls I can.
Folks, remember, this show is going to be on YouTube forever and ever. And this is one of those shows that I remind you, this could save a life. Study it, contact these folks. And I wish you the most success because our young folks are our future and we need them to be clean and safe and sane. So thank you. All right, folks, I hope you got something out of today's show. I learned quite a bit of stuff that's new. We're going to do this again next Saturday morning from 9 to 10. And please remember, it's on Facebook and YouTube, and use it as a reference. So take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye now.